Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another video with Swaggle Haas. Boy, oh boy, do we got ourselves a spicy one here today. A very, very exciting video because the Grail of Grails. The Grail, 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 Grail comic book has just hit the market. CGC 9.8 Ultimate Fallout 4 Newsstand Edition has just been listed for sale for the low, low price of $50,000. A listing that, to say that the comic book market has met with an enthused response would be a massive understatement. So in this video, we got to talk about this mythological copy, the CGC 9.8 Newsstand, first appearance of Miles Morales, and ask ourselves a question: is $50,000 an accurate price for this book? But of course, like always, guys, like, comment, subscribe, appreciate all those things. Let's get into this video here today. Now, as you guys can see in front of you, Elite Comics 11, another one of the comic book selling consignment pages, recently posted Ultimate Fallout 4 CGC 9.8 Newsstand Edition. And as you can see, the asking price for this copy is $50,000. Now, I happen to have their posting pulled up for you guys. I've also seen other comic book forums talking about this. There was a Facebook group that had this, obviously met with a lot of interesting and funny comments. There, I think there's a CGC forum post about this one right now. A lot of people talking about this book. It has yet to be claimed, otherwise that would be the story. But I thought it was still interesting to talk about because obviously everyone is losing their minds over the sticker price, thinking to themselves, why would anyone pay this amount of money for a modern comic book? I mean, I'd be remiss to not later bring up the idea that, you know, with $50,000, you can buy yourself a pretty nice AF-15, and we will certainly get into that video here today. But let's go over this listing a little bit. Now, I'm sure you guys know the difference between newsstands and directs, but if you don't, you can see right there that the newsstand editions were the ones that would go to literal newsstands. And throughout the years, we get progressively more rare as comic books hit less and less newsstands. I mean, this is a comic that came out in 2011. And by that point, I'm sure, as you guys know, newsstands were actually pretty rare. But you can see right there here in the barcode, it says newsstand underneath the price sticker. And then down here, it says Black Panther, which I believe has something to do with the distinction of it being a news. Oh, what the hell? You guys see that? You guys see that little spine tick right there? Is this a 9.8? Is that actually a spine tick, or is that like a piece of his webbing down there? I don't know. That's kind of funny. That could certainly hurt the price, but I guess that's neither here nor there. The point I was making is that newsstands, generally speaking, were more rare, specifically in this era. And for this particular copy, newsstands, at least anecdotally and empirically, do appear to be much more rare than that of the direct edition counterparts, which is why they are charging this type of premium on it. So if I were to go over here into Go Collect and also GPA analysis, you can actually see that while CGC doesn't break out specifically how many newsstand copies there are, at least these companies are doing an okay job tracking specifically the newsstand sales. And you can see just by, you know, the most recent ones, 4 total copies this year have sold at the newsstand level. 0 of which are 9.8. In fact, you have to go all the way back to 2020 to find the last 9.8 that has been sold. But I point this out just so you guys get an idea that while, you know, only 4 copies of newsstands total have gone on sale this year, I mean, I feel like 4 copies of the direct edition go on sale at least every day. So that's how you know that these are in fact more rare. Now, as far as the 9.8s are concerned, how many actually exist? Well, I know of 2 copies to actually exist. The one that we see in our listing, and presumably this one right here, that sold back in 2020 for $8,100, which has a different barcode. And this is kind of where I wanted to go into this conversation and this topic, which is, you know, as dealers or comic book people, you know, and you sell in your books, you know, your price is your price. You can put whatever price you want on it. You can put whatever sticker you want on it. If you do an eBay listing, you know, you can list, you know, whatever you want to list for your comic book. As the proud new owner of the Darkhawk #1 CGC 9.8 double cover, I could list my copy on eBay for $1 million, but that doesn't mean that someone is actually going to pay it. But the question is this $50,000 price tag out of line? Well, I guess we have to take a trip to Thought Experiment Town and see if we can figure this out. So as I was pointing out, back in 2020, this was a book that sold for $8,100. Now, there hasn't been a sale at the 9.8 grade for the last few years, but if you go over to GPA, we can check some of the other grades and see what they've been selling for. As you can see, the 9.8 newsstand is broken out on GPA, and it has that $8,100 sale. A 9.6 newsstand did sell in May of 2023 for $11,100, and back in 2020, it sold for $6,650. So effectively, we're talking double the value here in 2023, which, again, if you were to double the $8,100 price point, I mean, that wouldn't be anywhere even close to that of the asking price of $50,000. Based on these comps, it feels like double the price from the 2020 price is probably the way to go. Although when you compare it to Ultimate Fallout 4, the Djurjevic variant, which has a lot more copies out there at the 9.8 level, and we've recently seen sales for this book, selling around that $30,000 range, dipping a little bit below that even at the $27,000 level. And this was a book that back in that time of 2020 was selling around the same price, where you would see it sell for $8,400, which is similar to that at the $8,100 price. So based on where this book is now, we've kind of gone maybe 4x of the value. So you could make the argument that this newsstand copy, this 9.8 level, should be 4x the value of that of its 2020 price, the last time that it was sold. But that doesn't get you to $50,000, although if it truly is that rare, and only, say, 2 copies at the 9.8 level actually exist, I guess you can put whatever price you want on it, And if there's somebody out there who is just the super whale Miles Morales collector, who just has to have the best of everything Miles Morales, all you need is one buyer to give you $50,000. All you need is one Nicolas Cage with deep pockets that wants to have the best comic book collection to pay you this. And there's going to be nobody else that can actually underbid you. I guess, the other person who owns the copy could underbid you, but you know what I mean? Like, you were likely to get underbid more often with the Djurjevic variant than you are to get underbid with the newsstand edition. But again, the newsstand edition is very niche, although it allows the ability for you to flex your copy on other people. So that is kind of interesting. And of course, we have to do the thing, which is comparison town, this or that. Obviously, at the $50,000 range, you can buy a lot of nice books for yourself, including Amazing Fantasy 15, the first appearance of Peter Parker Spider-Man. And, where we are at right now with today's prices, for $50,000, I mean, we're talking anywhere from the 4.0 level to maybe even the 5.5, who knows, maybe the 6.0 level if things continue to get corrected a little bit more. I could see, the last sale for the 6.0 was $78,000 at Comic Connect, but who knows, maybe this book could retrace back to the $50,000 price point. But let's say you're healthily in the mid-grade level at $50,000. Now, knowing this, that you're going to be in this window for an AF-15, the question to me becomes, what would actually be a better investment for a book? If you had $50,000 to put into something, would you be better protected putting it into an AF-15 versus a Ultimate Fallout 4 newsstand edition? I know what you guys are thinking right now in the comments. You guys are going like, swag, this isn't even a debate. AF-15 all the way. But, we have to talk about the rarity aspect. We got to talk about it. I mean, there's plenty of mid-grade AF-15s. Just in this window alone, you see over 500, 600 even. So you're definitely going to see this book come up time and time again. It's always going to be at auction. How many times are you going to see a newsstand 9.8 pop up there? All you have to do is just not sell. I mean, if it goes to auction, then there's a lot of risk. I mean, because how many people want specifically this newsstand copy? That one would definitely be risky. That one I don't think would hit the $50,000 price point. But if you can just keep the sticker on it and wait for Nicolas Cage to come around and buy it off of you, you might actually get your price. I mean, if you were on a 3-year window for your investment, that you were going to buy one of these copies, an AF-15 5.0 versus this copy right here, in 3 years' time, what do you think is going to have a better return on your investment? I think the downside risk for the AF-15 is probably a lot lower. You know, if you have to sell this $50,000 copy in 3 years, you might be in trouble having to get whatever price you can. Whereas the AF-15s have probably already corrected enough to where it's probably okay to start considering buying them again, you know, after we've had our 2021 pullbacks. This one, $50,000, for all we know, could be the 2021 asking price, like we already did with our thought experiments. I mean, maybe this should only be double the value from that of what it sold in 2020. Maybe this should only be a $16,000 book. But again, because there's only 2 copies, you can ask whatever you want to ask and no one can ever underbid you. But very, very interesting stuff. Newsstand edition, the Grail of Grails, hitting the market, causing a massive storm in the comic book social media sphere. Everybody is talking about this copy right now. Lots of debate. Everyone's saying no way they would pay that price for a modern comic book. But let me know in the comments, is there anyone out there that actually thinks newsstands are worth it? Of course, thank you all so much for watching. That's all I got for this video. Like, comment, subscribe. See you all in the next one.